Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the September 19, 2006 Board of Selectmen Sewer Commissioners meeting. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Yes, Madam Chair. All 5 selectmen are present, and the Town Administrator, Michael Hutton, is also present.
Thank you. I'm going to take the agenda a little bit out of order this evening, and I'm going to ask Attorney Solomon, our special counsel, for our Verizon cable license to come forward. Good evening.
Hi. Firstly, let me apologize. I've been quite busy with trying to get these cable licenses done for communities, and no community frankly comes before Wareham in importance, but we had some that came chronologically that had begun the process earlier, not because you didn't begin it right away, but because Verizon began near Boston at first. So unfortunately, I have been not able to make some my self-imposed deadlines, and I apologize for keeping you waiting. What I wanted to do today was just be brief. Bruce and I, over a period of time, have discussed some of the specifics and goals. I'm just going to leave you with what's called this draft issuing authority report, make some brief comments, and talk about the process going forward. I provided to you before a brief summary of the process, and if I could as stated, Madam Chair, this is dealing with the licensing of Verizon of New England to provide cable service in the community. The board has sent advertised, they've received an application from Verizon of New England, and now it's the board's turn up to issue what's called an issuing authority report. Don't expect you to read that now, but I provided a draft of that report that has about a few items that still have to be completed, and I'll briefly discuss. It's about it's a 38-page document. It's very comprehensive. Depending on the board's schedule, I was going to have a conference with Bruce, who's your representative, on Thursday toward the end of the day to go over the final financial issues which he and I have discussed. And then at that point, provide for your agenda for your meeting on Tuesday, and I know it might be a brief meeting on one issue, that might even be executive session, to provide a bullet point summary of the key points of the issuing authority report, the final version of the issuing authority report, which will only be 1% different from this, filling in some numbers. And then if the board had then felt comfortable looking at that over the weekend, then my recommendation would be, if you do meet next Tuesday, to vote to issue the report, and then together with your staff, we would send it out to Verizon the following day. We would provide Verizon 2 weeks to respond to that report with what's called an amended application. At the same time, I would speak to the Verizon negotiating team that's handling Wareham, and we would set up a negotiation session between the town and Verizon prior to the time. We'd set it up for a date after they give you the amended application, but set it up sometime after we send the issuing authority report, at a time convenient for the town's negotiating team. I think maybe you could finalize, when you discuss it on Tuesday, who that team will be comprised of. I know Bruce, obviously. I think there's other members who were interested. I know the chair was. Whether or not it's going to be the full board or maybe 2 members of the board, and then myself, and if needed, some town staff such as Matt Underhill. The goal would be that after we have that amended application and we set up a negotiation session, to frankly have possibly 2 negotiation sessions, and to look to sign a license in October. That would require a public hearing where you need 14 days notice, which I do outline on your summary. So that would mean that sometime after we have our first meeting with Verizon, which would be at the beginning of October, we would have a sense then of how things were looking and whether we thought it was wise to set up a hearing at that point. I think it will be, for a number of reasons. So the goal would be to have that between the time of the first negotiation and the time of the hearing in October, to have a license completed and to have a license with Verizon based on the terms that Bruce has been working on together with me in place in October. So we're still on schedule for the time period that was set out here. Let me briefly just, I know there's many things in the license, but let me just briefly point out that what we're trying to do is preserve what's called a level playing field with your Comcast license. That would mean to have the same operating support of 4.5%. Over the first 10, if the first 10 years of a license, we would want Verizon to match the capital of $522,000 over 10 years, and then for an additional 5 years, they would provide funding for that 5 years of capital, and we'd also would want to make sure that they provided some compensation to the town for the cost that's equivalent to the Comcast cost of their video return lines. They have about 5 or 6 lines in different buildings. There's a cost to Comcast for that. We think they should match that. So in sum total, when we're done with the license in October, we would hope to have a license that's either 15 years, or if we have a disagreement with Verizon on capital, then 10 years, that has equivalent funding to your existing license that would provide the town over $500,000 in capital for the 10-year period, and more if it was 15. I think of the great benefit to the town. I know the town's made great strides in getting an excellent Comcast license, now setting up your Access Corporation. And again, my apologies for not being able to meet the deadlines that I wanted to make, and for, in that sense, you expecting something earlier. But after my conference with Bruce, we will have a bullet point summary, the very final version of the IAR, although very close to this. And then if you can meet on Tuesday, if you feel comfortable, vote it. If not, then you would wait to your next meeting. And as I said, I anticipate having a license with Verizon toward the end of October, the latest early November, but I think the end of October.
Does anyone have any questions for Attorney Solomon? Bruce, do you want to add anything to that?
No, that's it so far.
That's it? Any questions?
No.
4.5. Okay.
Great. And do you think you might have a chance to look at this next week, or is it just not sure yet?
We do have a special meeting scheduled next week. Certainly, yes,
Either one's
it is.
fine. I just, if let me know. You'll let me know. But
we will definitely let you know.
great. I'm not sure if I'll be available next week, but I'll be available beforehand. I might be available. I'd certainly be available next week. But either way, if you haven't meet your schedule, I appreciate the time.
All right. Well, that's all predicated on the conference call that you're going to have with Bruce on
Yes,
Thursday. Is that correct?
That's right. Thursday.
Okay.
And that's I have it down, and my obligation to get to Bruce and to go over the final financial terms which we've discussed. Bruce has made clear that it's important that this license in no way derogate from the benefits of the Comcast license, and it needs to, taken as a whole, it needs to be equivalent funding, and he's made that clear, and that's what we're attempting to do.
Okay. All right. Thank you very
Thanks,
much.
Lon. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Attorney Solomon.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is we have 2 interviews this evening for the PEG Access Board of Directors, and I think we'll do ladies before gentlemen. So if I can ask Ms. O'Hearn to join us.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening, Ramona. Thank you so much, for your willingness to want to serve on our PEG Access Committee. As I'm sure that you know, we've been talking for a long time, and this is going to be one of the most important boards that the Board of Selectmen will appoint. This board is going to have pretty direct control of the stream of information in our community. So why don't we start with you telling us a little bit about yourself, and then I'll open it up to board questions.
Okay, my name is Ramona O'Hearn. I have lived in Wareham most of my life. I do drive a school bus, so I do know lots of people. And I've also been on the Wareham School Committee for 10 years. I just got off in April. I've been on other boards through the school committee and also other associations, Redmond, the Algonquin Indian Association. I graduated from Wareham High School. I have a son and I have a grandson that I have to say hi to. Where should I be looking?